Howdy, welcome back to Wobble Enjoy Sports. If you're new around here, hope I can get you to consider to like the content and subscribe to the channel. But if you are a regular around these here parts, thank you very much for the continuous support. Last weekend I got 5 out of 8. That is a step in the right direction based off of me previous attempts over the past few weeks. So it's a step in the right direction, but now we get into a really tricky period of the NRL season. State of Origin is here, and for the next 6 weeks, players are going to be in and out of team lists. So Team List Tuesday becomes of vital importance. So without further ado, let's get stuck into round number 12 of the 2025 NRL season. Round 12 kicks off on Thursday night from Accor Stadium. The Bulldogs host the Dolphins. Canterbury Bankstown, they are $1.36. The Dolphins, they are $3.18 outsiders. This will be the first ever trip to Accor Stadium for the Dolphins. That is a very special occasion there for that club. Now for Team List Tuesday, we've got Tracy, Wilson and Montoya, the back three for the Dogs. We got Bronson Sherry and Blake Taff playing at the centres for the Doggies. Matt Burton and Toby Sexton remains as the halves pairing. The forward pack is Hapoi, Marnie and a returning Josh Curran. The back row is Kikau, Hayes and Haywood. The interchange for the Dogs is Jake Turpin, Morin, Sam Hughes also returns after a lengthy stint on the sidelines, and Luke Smith in jersey number 17. Going into the Dolphins lineup now, so they've shifted Avarillo to fullback to accommodate for the Hammer, who's playing Origin next week. We've got Azarko and Bostock still on the wings. In the centres, Max Feengai and Herbie Farnworth. The halves pairing remains as Katoa and Nikarima. The forward pack is Molo, Donahoe and Kofusi. And the back row, Finafuiaki, Lemuelu and Ray Stone. That is despite Gulikefu being named in the 19-20-man squad by Billy Slater just the other day. The interchange for them is Graham, Nichols, Kerr and Oren Keeley. This is a big test for the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. They're still without a couple of stars, but it's great to see Curran and Sam Hughes coming back into the fold. They do lose Jacob Kiraz. That is a massive blow. They do lose Max King, which is a massive blow. Going into the Dolphins team list, yeah, they lose Hammer, but they're certainly less affected. But Tom Gilbert rupturing his pec, he's out for the next 12 weeks, so his season's not done. But again, it's a huge chunk of time for that bloke to be missing, the captain of the Dolphins. And it doesn't actually say, for me here anyway, who the captain will be this weekend actually. So not too sure. Maybe it could be Isaiah Katoa, maybe it could be Felice Kafusi. We'll see come kickoff this Thursday. It's got a sniff of an upset about it. The Dolphins only 24 hours ago was sitting at about $4.20. They've definitely come in a hell of a lot, by a full dollar basically, coming into that $3.18 mark. But then again, the defense of the Dolphins, like the spine is intact. The Bulldogs' spine is still intact, and the Dolphins' defense, still with Kikau causing havoc on the edges. You've got Haywood now in at lock, so that's going to get them closer out, or get out to the edges a lot quicker. Oh, this is a fascinating contest. I'm going to give the nod to the Bulldogs. I didn't think that I would. I know the value is there with the Dolphins, considering the outs the Dogs have got. But I just am worried about this Dolphins defense that is coming up against the Bulldog spine. In addition, Haywood floating around dangerously out there at lock. So they've built up enough brownie points, have the Bulldogs, and I'm going to give it to them. I think the Bulldogs are going to win this game 1-12. Friday night football, there's only one game, and it is from Combank Stadium. The Eels host the Sea Eagles, and the Parramatta side, they are outsiders at $2.82. The Sea Eagles, they are $1.43 favourites. For team list news, Moses is out due to Origin, therefore Dean Hawkins comes back in. Dylan Brown remains at the 5'8 spot. The rest of the backline, there has been a change. Jordan Samrani is playing centre this weekend. And Sean Russell, Will Penasini, Josh Adokar, and Iongi, they round out the back line for Parramatta. The forward pack, Riley Smith is starting at hooker again, Tuolungi, Kautonga, and Hopgood. That's their full-strength forward pack right there. The interchange is Walker, Moretti, Ryan Madison, and Matt Dury. Now, the Manly Sea Eagles are from 1 down through to 6. They are full strength. DCE is out, therefore Jake Arthur comes back into first grade and he plays at halfback to terrorise his old side. Oh, there you go. The forward pack, Bullymore, Simkin, Takeaho, Olakawatu, Ben Trebojevic and Jazz Tavanga. Jake Trebojevic out due to the concussion he suffered last weekend. Interchange, Lachlan Croker finally returns to the NRL after a huge layoff with injury. Corey Waddell, Nathan Brown and Matt Lodge round out the interchange. Big game for Manly. It is a large game for Parramatta, but this is a big game for Manly. If they don't win this one, that's going to be quite a shot to the heart, honestly. But they took care of business last weekend with only 15 men for a period, ultimately 16 men last weekend in Townsville. So I have no reason to believe why they can't get the job done. Yes, there's still star power. I'll give the Fox his due. I think Josh Adokar has been pretty strong for the better part of a month now, maybe a little bit more than that. I think the Fox has been doing quite well, but we saw what the Parramatta Eels were like without Moses. They're without him again, and there's just too much evidence on the board, and there's too many stars left in the Manly side to not back the Manly Sea Eagles in this game, and I think it could get away from the Parramatta Eels. I think Sea Eagles win this 13+. There are 2 games on Super Saturday, and match number 1 emanates from Carrington Park in Bathurst for the one and only time in 2025. The Penrith Panthers take their annual game out west to host the Newcastle Knights. The Panthers are $1.35 favourites. The Newcastle Knights sit at $3.23. That is fairly disrespectful on the Newcastle Knights. Holy dooly, that's massive. And speaking these team lists now, it's going to make sense why. So let's go into the Penrith Panthers. So Dane Laurie, Alamotti and Jenkins, that is the back 3. Solid. Centres, Tungo and Casey McLean. The halves pairing is Talangi and Brad Schneider at halfback. The forward pack is Leota, Kenny and Eisenhuth. Preston, Ricky, Liam Henry shifts to the second row, and Lindsay Smith also reverts back to lock. I think maybe the first 6 weeks, Lindsay Smith could really put his stamp down and say, I'm ready for an Origin debut, but I just do think that his form is just tapered off just a little bit. So Lindsay Smith, he's playing at lock, not at prop this weekend. In the interchange reads Summerton, Diaz, Patia, and Jack Cole. That is, with all due respect to the regular first graders in that side, that is New South Wales Cup level. And if you think back to last year, where they took on the Dragons, this team did go down to the Dragons last year, I should say. But this is a very different team that they're taking on this weekend. So for the Newcastle Knights, Sharp goes from 5'8" to fullback, and the wingers, Schiller and Fletcher Hunt. The centres, Gagai and McCarthy. Bradman Best still out with a hamstring injury. Gamble and Cogger remain the halves pairing. Frizzell, Crossland and Thompson. That is a strong front row. The back row, Lucas, Pierce-Paul and Adam Elliott. That starting forward pack for Newcastle is their strongest forward pack lineup, I believe. The interchange is Brayley, Croker, Jones and Thomas Cant. Jackson Hastings has been named in jersey 22, but I don't think anything is going to eventuate there. I said before that it's a big game for Manly. Newcastle Knights clearly have the more experienced side in first grade. There is still some serious talent that cannot be underestimated in Penrith. Dane Laurie, for the Panthers to be victors this weekend, I do think Dane Laurie needs to just about be man of the match. Talangi, yes. Also, Mitch Kenny, yes, he's going to control things beautifully, I think, this weekend. But I think Dane Laurie needs to be that man for Penrith this weekend because, as people have been saying for the past few weeks now that we're in the Origin period, the Panthers are going to play a handful of games, maybe 3, where they are just not going to have their full complement, and they might be taking on, well, Newcastle Knights, who have a close enough full-strength forward pack, or they do. And then in a couple of weeks' time, just bear this in mind, and I mentioned this at the very start of the season, actually, at the start of the year, when I did my Overlook videos, Panthers are taking on the Warriors a couple of days after the Perth State of Origin game in New Zealand, and it has already been confirmed that those players who are playing in that Perth Origin game, like Cleary, Martin, Yeo, they're not going to be playing in that game. So they're already trying to claw their way back into the 8 in dropping a game like this, and then potentially dropping a game against the Warriors when the Panthers are only half strength. All right, I'll do it. I'm going to tip the Newcastle Knights in this game. I think that they've just got a bit more class in the forward pack. I think they've got a bit more class coming off of the interchange, and someone like a Fletcher Sharp at fullback could get his hands on the ball more, or at least dictate terms a little bit more this weekend. I think that's a massive game for Fletcher Sharp this weekend. Tyson Gamble and Jack Cogger, they just need to show the leadership and experience, because I'm sure they don't want to be taken down by a couple of youngsters, for sure. So I'm going to tip the Newcastle Knights in this game, not with a lot of confidence. This Panthers side, they've done crazier things than upsetting the Newcastle Knights in Bathurst, but I'm for now going to tip the Newcastle Knights to win this game 1-12. The second game on Super Saturday is from Central Coast Stadium, or Industry Group Stadium. The Roosters host the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks. East, they are $3.36. The Sharks, they are $1.33 favourites. Credit to the Roosters last weekend against the Bulldogs. That was a hell of an effort and a hell of a game. The Cronulla Sharks involved in something very similar, but it was them that walked away with the 2 points, a very important 2 points against the Melbourne Storm. Very, very good win there for Cronulla. Team list news now. So we've got basically a full-strength side for the Roosters. Sorry, I'll reiterate that. They've got a full-strength backline, have the Roosters. Dominic Young, though, however, comes in, and Nawakanituasi moves into the centre position because Rob Toya has been named to make his Origin debut next week, which I think is kind of wild. The forward pack here for the Roosters is where the concern lies. We've got Makatoa, Docker Clay, Feketi starting in the front row. Butcher, Wong and Radley. Iolu, apologies if I didn't pronounce that correctly. He makes his first grade debut this weekend. Lasalu, Steep and Nat Butcher. That is the interchange. And then for the Sharkies, Hiroti has been named on one wing. That is due to Sam Stonestreet suffering an ankle injury, and looks like Sam Stonestreet will be out for a few weeks there. So Hiroti will be the winger, and I'm not too sure how far away Sione Katoa might be. Ramian, Iro, Mulatalo, Trindle and Hines, that's full strength as it gets, besides Hiroti being named on the sting. The forward pack is Fanua Blake, Brayley, Korfusi, Nikora, Birds and McInnes. The interchange is Atkinson, Colhoun, Talakai and Hamlin Uwele. And once again, we've got Teague Wilton named on the on the reserves list as well. I think Cronulla, they could show a little bit of overconfidence this weekend, defeating the Melbourne Storm, and then knowing that they're taking on a bit of a half-strength Roosters side in Gosford this weekend. They could be a little bit cocky, so they really need to be quite aware of that. But yeah, the Roosters have been smacked with the team list this weekend due to State of Origin, and in the Sydney Roosters case, and maybe a couple of other cases as we go throughout the next 6 weeks or so, I think the case for stopping the competition for a month, when you look at the Roosters here, for Team List Tuesday for this weekend's game against Cronulla is, I think it just makes more sense to me, honestly. And then, well, I'm going to stop myself because otherwise I'll go on a freaking tangent. But I am going to tip the Cronulla Sharks here in this game. Am I confident enough to say 13 plus? No, I'm not quite that confident. Roosters have produced some upsets this year. This would be pretty big. If they got the upset this weekend. But I'm going to tip the Cronulla Sharks to win this game 1-12. And the final game of round number 12 emanates from Go Media Stadium in Auckland. This is the game of the round. The Warriors versus the Raiders, second versus third. And it's the Warriors who come into the game as $1.80 favourites. The Raiders are at $2.05. These two sides met in Las Vegas earlier this year, and the Raiders absolutely decimated the Warriors. So I think the Warriors, they've certainly got vengeance on their mind, but also to, sort of repay the fans for that large-scale loss in Las Vegas. So let's go into the team list news now for the Warriors. The back three is CNK, DWZ, and RTS. The centres, Adam Pompey and Kirk Capewell. Capewell, a little bit unlucky to miss out on an Origin call-up. We've got the halves pairing, CHT and Metcalf. The forward pack is Ford, Egan and Afoa. James Fisher-Harris suspended due to a high shot last weekend. That's a shame. Halasima, Niakure and Clark. Interchange is Martin, Laban, Vaymalga and Stowers Smith. Also of note, Tane Tuapiki has been named with jersey number 23 on his back. So if he's called to come back, I would suspect maybe that Capewell pushes back to the second row, RTS into centre, and then Tuapiki moves into the wing spot. And then what happens between Halasima and Niakure, not too sure. Maybe one of those move out back to the interchange bench, and then maybe a Stowers Smith misses out this weekend. So for the Canberra Raiders team news now, their 1 down through to 7 is unchanged. It is full strength. The forward pack, Horsburgh, Starling and Tarpany. Have no idea why Big Red wasn't selected for Origin. The back row is Sasangi, Hosking and Smithies. Sasangi coming in for Hudson Young, who was named for the Blues. And the interchange is Paddy, Noah Martin, who makes his first grade debut this weekend, Josh Papali'i and Atta Mariotta. That rounds out the interchange bench. This could be a great game. This really could be a great game. This is the first match that the Warriors, have had at home at Go Media Stadium in well over 3 weeks. I think it's a month come kickoff. So it's a kind of a homecoming this weekend, but also they're wearing these special black jerseys, Dear Warrior edition jerseys this Sunday against the Raiders, but the Raiders won't give a rat's ass about that because, despite some defensive issues, the Raiders are no team to muck around with. This is second versus third. Both of these teams have got a couple of pieces missing. I did not mention that Mitch Barnett is also out for the Warriors as well. But we've seen Afoa do some good things, even great things at times, and we've also seen Jackson Ford pop off quite well, starting at props. So a bit of pressure there on those two starting props this weekend. No such issue for the Raiders. The Warriors, they've not been clinical. They were on a 5-game win streak. They haven't been overly impressive. Like, it's impressive that they've been able to win different ways and go on a 5-game win streak. But they just, besides that Cowboys game, which was high quality in the rain, I just haven't been overly impressed by the Warriors in this streak. But they're getting the dubs, and that's all that freaking matters. Meanwhile, the Raiders, they have now been punched in the face, and they came back and put 40 points on the Titans, like they should. They leaked 24, but they came back and punched a bottom 4 team, bottom 2 team square in the jaw, did the Canberra Raiders. I do think Warriors do deserve favouritism in this game, just because it is in Auckland. Hudson Young is a loss for the Raiders, though. He's obviously been the form back rower of the competition for 2025. So, yeah, they do lose an edge in attack, don't they, the Canberra Raiders this weekend? But someone like a KO Weeks, who was lambasted over the first 3 weeks of the competition, man, the past 4 weeks or so, he is climbing straight back into straight back into good form. Really, really good form, KO Weeks. So I'm freaking happy for him. Savalia Tamale versus DWZ. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, I think, maybe versus Savage. In any event, this shaped as a friggin' beauty. Wish I was commentating on it. But I'm actually going to go the Canberra Raiders in this one. Yeah, there's a bit of value on the Raiders, but I think that the Raiders, who did get that punch in the face, got brought back down to reality, came at just the right time for this young team. And I think they can take it to the wires and be confident that they got the job done in much bigger circumstances in Las Vegas in round 1, but the Warriors will want to atone for that loss big time this Sunday in what shapes up as a belter. But I'm going to go the Raiders to win this game 1-12. Howdy everyone, thank you very much for your continuous support. I hope you enjoyed that video, and I'll see you guys on Thursday night. Terry from Rugby League Outlaws returns, and we're going to commentate on the Dogs versus the Dolphins this Thursday night. Other than that, that is adios for me for the rest of the week, besides the live stream on Thursday. And I'll see you guys next week with some more content for the A-Side Tip Show. Thank you very much. Take care. Adios.